We talked about this the other day. But this is one of the pain points that I have. When I say this, I'm not saying the game is bad and you shouldn't be having fun. I'm not. Okay? This node in this path right here should not exist. Blood lance piercing through enemies that are currently lanced should be a core function of blood lance. This should not be a thing that takes a skill point. It's dumb that it exists. This is an illusion of progression and power and choice. There is no choice here. If you want to run blood lance, you're not going to go, big think. Am I going to take enhanced blood lance? Yes, you're gonna fucking take enhanced blood lance. It is not a choice. This needs to be a part of this. And these need to be way more abundant. The design of Diablo 3 was not great, but it is undeniable that Diablo 3 had more choice in what you could do than Diablo 4 does. Because every single skill that existed in that entire fucking game had, 5 different runes that changed what that thing did. And if you were to translate that over to Diablo 4, every single one of these nodes would not have a middle node, but would instead have the base ability and 5 of these options. Why have a branch that only leads to 1? It's to trick you into thinking that you're unlocking this new skill, when in actuality, that skill was probably just baseline in the game and then was removed to be added as a tier that you then unlocked later on. And then on top of that, if I look at this tree and I'm running Bone Lance, and I'm like, what can I add to my armor that makes my skills better, right? I'm gonna be like, I want pet stuff and I want Bone Lance stuff, right? I want stuff that's gonna make those 2 skills better. Let's look. Bone Spear's primary attack makes enemies hit by the first vulnerable, or enemies hit beyond the first vulnerable for 1.5 seconds, and Bone Shards from Bone Spear deal 30% more damage to vulnerable enemies. Cool. That's awesome. I like that. That's good. All right, we'll keep that in mind. Any other Bone Spear anything here? Oh, there's no choice here. If you run Bone Spear, you're going to take the aspect. There's no choice. You know what this should say? To make it more interesting? Core skills. Not Bone Spear, core skills. Now that can be used across everything. Now it's interesting. Anything in this shit that says that, like, it's a very specific thing, it should just be changed to core, in my opinion. Like, or something that is more encompassing of all of the abilities that we have. Like, casting Blood Lance will consume blood orbs. Casting a core skill will consume blood orbs that also conjure lances from them. Imagine this as like, casting your core skill will consume blood orbs to also conjure the core skill on them. If you were to run a Blood Surge build, and you were to have this, and it was to work with all core skills, then what this would effectively do is whenever you have a blood orb out on the field and you blood surge, that blood orb will also blood surge. Wouldn't that be fucking awesome? It's way more interesting to have these aspects not be locked to a specific skill. And I understand that for the sake of balance, this is the way that it is, because it would be really, really hard to balance certain aspects if they were to apply to all core skills. From a build design standpoint, there is no build crafting in this system. There just isn't. If you use Blood Surge, you're using the Blood Bathed aspect. You are not using anything else. When it could have been, any blood skill will Nova after a short delay, dealing slightly less damage, which would include your blood wave. And if you want them to be like agnostic to whatever the type it is, any bone skill's primary attack, not just Bone Spear, any bone skill will do this thing. Any blood skill will do this thing. Any shadow skill will do this thing. It's more interesting. There's an illusion of choice, and it sucks because it could be way cooler. I am doing a lot of complaining here, but I'm not coming at this from the perspective of the game is bad. I very much enjoy this game, but I also think there's a couple of things in this game that could be changed that would make it better for everybody involved. And it's small little things like that that I think that would elevate this game from good to potentially the best fucking ARPG on the market. Like, when you have complete control over how you want to play, that is a sexy as fuck thing to any gamer out there. The more agency that you give to a player for them to do the thing that they want to do, I understand that there's certain things that have to be worked around, like balance is a very important thing. Balance is a very important thing, especially with something that's supposed to be a live service and have longevity to it. But the more agency you give the player in doing the things that they want to do, and you are less restrictive, the better the experience will be, the more fun the player will have. There's no reason to limit the aspects to specific abilities at all. There just isn't. There's no reason for it. It limits the agency of the player. The problem is, what kind of build do I want? What kind of skills do I want to use? And how do I want my build to function? That is the problem. The agency that we have is, these are the skills that you have, choose the one that you want. And to be pigeonholed into, I am using Bone Spear, therefore I will use the Bone Spear aspect, is not the choice of the player. It is the demand. If you want to continue playing the game and continue progressing in the game, you no longer have choice. There is no choice. If you want to be efficient at what you're doing, there is only one option. And that one option is the Bone Spear aspect. Whereas in this hypothetical world, if it was just core skills, right? Your core skills do this thing. Or even the removal of, it's not Bone Spear, it's Bone Skills do this thing. That's interesting. And you can even see the breadcrumbs of that like design aspect in the Druid. Earth skills become Werebear skills. Werebear skills become Earth skills. Storm skills become Werewolf skills. That is inherently interesting. Why? Because it changes the parameters in which your aspects can affect the abilities that you have on your character. Pulverize, being able to benefit from Earth benefits, is really fucking cool, where it otherwise wouldn't be able to. That is a way to solve that problem, but I also think that you could have solved it by just having it be core skills do this. And sure, there's going to be a clear outlier, but here's the cool part. You could still do whatever you wanted. If I wanted to run the one where my blood orbs will also mimic the core skill that I use, that's kind of cool. That is defining of a person's build setup. Is it going to be the best? It doesn't have to be. It's about the agency that you have. And this is something that I've advocated for like stuff like Destiny 2 as well. I think that the more you allow people the ability to do the things that they want to do, the better the experience becomes overall. Being limited because the game says you're just not allowed to do that will never feel good. You know what? I actually have the perfect example for this. I have the perfect fucking example for this. It's a Druid one. Core skills deal 6% additional damage for each active companion. Why can't we have this on Necromancers? When I saw this for the first time, I went, holy shit, dude. That is fucking awesome for a pet build. That is so fucking cool. And then I found out it was Druid only. Oh. Well, that sucks. And so I kept looking, right? Here it is. Core skills deal 20% increased damage based on the amount of Fortify. Why is this a Druid only aspect? Why is this a Druid only aspect? This one fucking aspect, if it was usable on every single fucking class, would be amazing. This is a perfect example of a good aspect as opposed to these hyper-specific ones that just feel like they should be baked into what the fucking skill already does, you know? This one, Twisting Blades, there's no reason for this to exist, because if you run Twisting Blades, you're using this aspect. And if you're only going to be using this one aspect, then this should just be what Twisting Blades does. Like, it should just do this. In the same way that set bonuses were inherently restrictive to build diversity, these are restrictive to build diversity. Dude, imagine, if you will, instead of it being Twisting Blades orbit for a short time after they return to you, core damage skills will orbit the player for a short duration, and based on the number of enemies hit with the initial cast, it increases the damage of the orbiting damage of the core skill. Let's throw this hypothetical out there. You do a barrage. You do a little fan shot, right? You hit 10 things, and then around the character, a gigantic fucking barrage of arrows flies out from the center of the character. You are now nuking the entire map. That is a cool fucking idea. Now your creativity is the limiting factor here. You need to have generic aspects that are like this one that can be applied to anything that you do. The hyper-specific aspects are literally no different to me than set bonuses. Because when you run a set bonus in Diablo 3, guess what, bitch? That is the only fucking thing you're allowed to do. You want to run Raiment Monk? You better like punching shit with generators, and you better like Dashing Strike, because that is all you are allowed to fucking do. Oh, you want to run Juliana's? Okay, get yourself a Lion's Claw, get yourself Fist of Osterok. There you go. That's all you're allowed to do, asshole. That's it. You're allowed to do nothing else. Those are your options. Get fucked. It's not a build. It's the illusion of. You get the illusion that you are building this thing out. If they were to just not double down on these hyper-specific things, I think this game would be the best one on the market. Okay, and it's already really good. It's already doing great. Like, Diablo 4 is doing great. It is succeeding. But, yeah.